Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Baker, and looks like we got a number of y'all on the line, which is good. We are about ready to jump into the presentation here. We have a few more people that look like they're about to join up. So give us about another 3 minutes, and we'll make sure everybody gets online first, and then we'll go ahead and begin sharing the screen and some of the information that we have to go over today. So I'm excited to see you there. Give me about two more minutes, and we'll get things started. All right, it looks like we have a couple more people that have just jumped on, and we're excited to get started with this information. So to give you kind of a quick overview and an update, this is being recorded, so this will be available once this is done. So if we go over something and you have some questions, or maybe got distracted with good old phone calls or voicemails, and you weren't able to hear something, that's fine. There'll be a replay of this available afterwards. We'll send out a link to everybody that had signed up. So hopefully the little download ebook worked for you, and you were able to get some kind of some insights and some information about some ways to use social media. What we're going to do is we're going to go through about half an hour worth of information, maybe about 40 minutes at the most, but then we'll open it up to other questions that you might have as well. So what we typically do in these webinar formats is we usually offer the opportunity for you to interact a little bit throughout the format. So what we do is we'll maybe unmute people at certain times, give you a chance to chime in, get information from you, other questions as we go along. And then also there is a chat window, and to access the chat window, there's actually a area that has it's down in the kind of the bottom right of your screen. It has little dots in it. You hit the chat option that's down there, and anybody that wants to send a quick little note or message via the chat window, I have that open on my screen. So while we're talking, while we're going through this information, I can glance at that and answer any direct questions as they come top of mind. And then, like I said, we'll open it up also at the end for additional questions. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll all have a really kind of good grasp of social media as a whole. What does it really mean for you? So why don't we go ahead and get started? Again, this is Jeff Baker. I'm with Shoes Optional. We started this company back in 2014. And a big part of what we do is really help individuals and businesses identify and grow their web presence, their digital presence, their social media presence in a way that's meaningful and helps folks be able to get to just a good use of all of that information. Obviously, there's so many ideas, so many thoughts out there. And a little bit about my background, I've been in this industry since '96. So I was back in the day doing hand-coded websites for folks, and now things are a lot easier with WordPress and other types of things that we build. But we've been around the block a few times. We're here. We aren't going anywhere. We've been around, like I said, doing this under the Shoes Optional brand since 2014. And we've had a lot of fun along the way. We've learned a lot. And so out of that has birthed this process of trying to share information and hopefully make it meaningful, give you things that you can literally take away as of today and use those. And then as you use those, then hopefully as we add other types of webinars and workshops coming up, it will give you some information that might be useful as well. So we're going to jump in. Social media made simple. Basically, we're going to take a look at about 3 major buckets of information as we go. what is it? In other words, what is social media? Identify it, be able to kind of define it, sort of that elevator pitch. This is what social media is. And then we're going to take a high level look at a lot of the platforms that are currently in use. We'll go through about 4 or 5 of them. We're not going to do anything deep on those today. We don't have the time, but it will give you a kind of an idea of what's out there and what is the benefit to you personally or in your business. The other one is towards the end of that, once we kind of look at these platforms, and then we start talking about how is this really going to help you in your life, in your business? What are some things to do and not to do? We're actually going to come at this from a couple different perspectives too. I happen to be a Christian, so I come at it from a little bit of a different perspective in the sense of how does that relate to my faith and how do I use social media as a way to represent the God that I love, right? So that's kind of why we do some of these things as well. So I'm going to share a little bit more of that with you when we get towards the end, but this is a big part of what we do. So we're going to jump into the next slide. And what we've got here is social media made simple. So how to use it in your life and business. How just a quick thing, don't forget that, if you haven't downloaded your book, double check your link that was sent over in the email or even some of the things that you opted in on. That book is there. If you didn't get it, let me know. Email me directly at jeff@shoesoptional.com and I'll make sure you get that book. And again, it's just kind of a really good snapshot of some things to make your social media life a little bit more simple than it currently is. And again, we're going to add to that as we go. So let me tell you about social media. What is it? Well, as defined by Wikipedia, social media is a term used to describe the type of media that is based on conversation and interaction between people online. So in other words, where media means digital words, sounds, and pictures, which are typically shared via the internet, and the value can be cultural, societal, or even financial. That's a very long description by a source that's on the web, Wikipedia, as to what is social media. That's their term. Here's my definition, short and sweet. Simply put, social media is connecting with others around ideas and information using ever-changing technology. So obviously, 10 years ago, most of our phones couldn't do a lot. They basically maybe texted and made phone calls, but they didn't have all this stuff that's in here now, right? So now we have phones that are actually more powerful than some of the first computers I used back in the day. They can do, way more than some of the laptops even 5 years ago could do. So social media, again, simply put, is connecting with others around ideas and information using ever-changing technology. So let's take a look at kind of some examples of social media that really isn't that far-fetched, right? So Coleman, they're a company that does a lot of camping gear, and they actually ran an ad probably about 4 years ago now, and it was really clever because they claimed to be sort of the original social media, like camping was the original social media. So you're around a campfire, you're exchanging stories, people are, telling jokes and they're hanging out. That's what social media used to mean for a lot of us back in the day, where we would actually interact with people face to face in different situations. So things like clubs or groups, out on the golf course, those are all things that people would do that we would really identify based on what we talked about as actually a form of social media. It's connecting with people around concepts, ideas, and thoughts, and usually around a ever-changing thing of technology, right? So the present, what's happened is we've sort of lost a lot of that personal touch, unfortunately, and most of our social media, most of our social interaction in our society is around apps and web technology. So it's either through a browser window, it could be through a mobile app that you have with you all the time. That's where we are currently. And some people, and you can see this right now with what's going on with Facebook. Facebook's having a lot of problems because there's so many things that happened that kept your information that you thought was safe and secure is now in the hands of a lot of people it shouldn't have ever been. But the end result is we've trusted too much in this technology world to protect us and keep us safe, where typically if you were doing real social media where you're face to face with people, if something was unsafe, you would remove yourself from that situation. Now social media has become this area where people get behind ideas and concepts. And quite honestly, there's a really dark side to social media because it's really based on people's opinions that they would never share with anybody outside of social media, right? They wouldn't, most time people, some of the things you hear on social media, very seldom would somebody say that to your face. Now there's some people that would, but for the most part, we usually are fairly polite when we are face to face with other people, unless there's an issue on that. Hold on, please. All right, sorry about that. Did not expect that to happen in the middle of this. We'll clip that out for the recorded version of this, and we'll come back to that. Sorry about that. All right, so we were just talking about the fact that social media is that option for us to really interact around concepts and idea around ever-changing technology. So let's take a look at a couple of the platforms. We'll talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of each of these. These are kind of the big ones that are in the world today. We actually, before we put these slides together, there used to be another one on here called Google Plus, and as of April, that's going to be completely dealt with and kind of removed off the web. And Google's going to roll that into some other technology that they're using. But Google Plus and Facebook really had a lot of similar features, but Facebook, think of it as really more of your personal life. Facebook is all about connecting with friends and people from schools and colleges and people that worked at similar jobs. So Facebook has been and continues to be the largest social media platform in the world. There's over, I think, 1 to 2 billion people on it currently. There's a lot of really good stuff that happens on it, but we've seen even recently that there are a number of things in Facebook that are also very dark. So because Facebook has that ability to do a Facebook Live, people have used that in the middle of committing a crime or doing something similar to that, where Facebook has kind of allowed some of that. So they're trying to play catch up on how do you secure stuff, how do you still keep that freedom of information and that ability to do some fun things and also protect it against some of the dark stuff out there. So that's what Facebook does. Twitter is another one. We're going to look at these a little bit more detail as we go, but LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube is actually what I would consider a social media channel. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but it actually has a very strong social media component. We're going to look at that here in a minute as well. Pinterest is another one that a lot of people are using. There's another one that's slowly emerging, and I'm keeping an eye on it, and at some point I may share a little bit more about it, but it's their response to kind of the problems that Facebook's having. They're kind of creating an alternate platform called We. So it's ME, like me, and then we, like us as a community.com is where you can find that. They have a mobile app. And there's some things emerging on that. I think they've claimed to have about 100 million users already, but they're quickly assimilating stuff from other social media channels. A lot of people don't realize this, but email is also a social media channel. I'll explain that when we get to that part of it. And then blogging as well. Blogging actually is, again, if we're talking about true social media is the exchange of content or information and ideas, then that's what a blog is. You're literally sharing ideas. And in some cases, if you open up your blog for discussion, you're getting feedback from individuals and they're connecting around this concept, this idea, whatever the blog is discussing. So it's a form of social media. But again, when we think of social media, 9 times out of 10, the first thing people think of is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's it, right? Those are, and then maybe a few people mention Pinterest, and then LinkedIn. People don't think of it as social media, but it really is. It's a very professional environment for it. So let's take a little bit more look at Facebook, right? So we talked about Facebook. It's a strong social media platform. It's one of the best. Kind of not best, but it's one of the ones that's got the largest share of users. So let's talk about it from a personal view versus a professional view. Personally, it's a great way to share stuff with my friends and family. So I can share certain things that only my family is going to see. And quite honestly, my family happens to, my side of the family, my wife's family's here locally where I live, where we live, but my family's in Boise, Idaho. So I don't get a chance to see them very often. But Facebook can be a chance where I can share pictures of our dog. I can share pictures of maybe if we planted some flowers and we did some yard work. It's a way for people to get connected and go, oh, hey, even though we live thousands of miles away, we have the ability to stay connected and enjoy some, at least some familiarity and stay interacting with people's lives. On the professional side of things, Facebook is it took a while, but it actually emerged as a really strong platform for businesses um, and professionals to use Facebook to their advantage. And here's two examples. So as a business owner, I can use Facebook to target a very specific set of people that like certain things. So if I'm doing a book, or if I'm doing a video, or if I'm doing something, I could push it out on Facebook and say, hey, I want this to show up in a lot of people's peripheral. It could be direct friends, or it could be even people that I don't even know, but in a specific area. And it allows me to create additional interest, grow my email list, get better exposure to my company. So that's beneficial as a business. As a professional, and what I mean by professional, maybe you're somebody that works a 9 to 5 job, you're looking at advancing your career, you're growing in that. As a professional, Facebook can be really good because people, when you go for a job interview, I guarantee you almost 100% of the time, they've already looked you up on Facebook. So if your Facebook profile has all this really good information about you, shows you involved in community outreach, and you're doing volunteers and you're sharing heartwarming stories, that's a good way to use Facebook from a professional standpoint. However, it can backfire. So if you're in the professional world that Facebook is just your space, be very careful, because employers and prospective employers have they have the ability to see a lot of stuff, even though you think it might not be visible. So if you are the kind of person that's out there partying on weekends and you're flipping people off and you're looking all rough and ragged, and you're in a profession that requires some professionalism, like dress and other stuff, they may look at that and go, you know what, you're not a fit for us. A horror story is about 5 to 6 years ago. A young lady was just getting out of college. She was excited to kind of look at possible jobs. She got a really good job offer, and she made a mistake of going on social media and basically, and whether she was joking or not, nobody really knows, but she basically posted, now I get to choose between living the life I want or working and being a slave to a company or something like that. Well, the company that just offered her the job saw that and actually used social media to say, hey, you know what, we'll make this decision really easy for you. Go live the life you want to. You are no longer welcome at our company. Thank you and have a nice day. Right. So that's unfortunate, but be careful, because things like Facebook and other social media platforms can and will reflect who you are. And if you're not careful, it can cause some problems, right? So as far as Facebook's concerned, there's a lot of things that we cover under the hood. There's things about how you target your profile. There's Facebook groups and pages. There's even things like you can create Facebook events where you invite people to join you on your event. One of the things we haven't put in this particular part of the slides, but there's Facebook Marketplace in a lot of areas now where you have a blender you want to sell, put it up there, and somebody will buy it. You'll be surprised. And then also the whole advertising side. A lot of what you see on this slide here is really high level of just going, this is how deep Facebook can get. So coming up this year, we actually have a number of social media webinars that are going to be geared towards specific platforms. Facebook, because of how big it is, it's probably going to be a 5-week, maybe 6-week, 6-part series where we're going to look through all of those elements, and we're going to dive deep, and we're going to spend anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes on those types of topics, and really hopefully walk away with that and really understand the nuances of Facebook, because you you can just kind of let it run, or you can use it to leverage it to the best of your advantage, whether you're a professional business owner or personally. There's a lot of things you can do. So we even get into the nitty gritty of what types of settings should I have, so that I can ensure that people aren't seeing things that I don't want them to see. And what about privacy settings? And what about all the notifications that end up popping up on your phone all the time? You're like, I don't want all those notifications anymore. How do you get through all of that? And what are the basically steps to make sure that you're using Facebook to the best of your advantage, right? So that's again, high level. We're looking at today just more as a high level of social media platforms. That's Facebook. The next one is going to be Instagram. Instagram, believe it or not, is actually owned by Facebook. So one of the things that people don't realize is that when I post something on Facebook, if I have my Instagram account connected to Facebook, it's going to automatically post it on Facebook for me. Or excuse me, it's going to post it from Facebook on Instagram for me without me having to do a bunch of extra steps. So again, what I like about Facebook and Instagram, one, they're connected, but they're also, again, very easy to use professionally, personally, or in your business. But think of it this way. Facebook and Instagram are what we call stream of conscious platforms and passive platforms, meaning, and you can see it all the time, people are out there they've got 10 minutes, they're in a lounge somewhere waiting for a doctor's appointment, and they're just sitting there scrolling through Facebook, seeing what's going on in the day, right? It's kind of like the new world of news. Instead of looking at news websites, we're looking at Facebook and we're seeing what's going on with friends, family, news reports, and stories we follow. But it's very passive. In other words, I'm not going to see everything that's happening the first time I swipe through. So the next time I swipe through, Google or Facebook's algorithms are going to start reorganizing it, and I'm going to see newer stuff that shows up. But it's very passive. And keep that in mind, because if you're looking at advertising on Facebook as a business owner, remember, it's passive, so people may or may not see your ad, and if they see it, they may not respond because they're not in the mood right at that moment. They're more interested in getting some information and news and catching up with what's going on in the world. So sometimes your ad showing up in the middle of that is clutter, and it's less, lot less click through than you would have through other options as far as doing different types of advertising as a business. Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter real quick. Twitter's a great platform. However, for most of us, unless you're the president of the United States, one of the Kardashians, maybe a famous author, singer, entertainer, really Twitter has limited value. There's still some good stuff out there. You can share quotes and ideas and thoughts, but for most of us, to get to the level of influence that Twitter really has, you have to have a huge audience. Otherwise, you just get people that might follow you, and you tweet something, they might like it or retweet it. But at the end of the day, Twitter, again, it's another one of those stream of conscious things, but it's also not something that people spend a ton of time in unless there's a reason to. And so again, that's why you have the president of the US, you've got, any one of the Kardashians out there, they post something and it blows up the whole Twitter universe. And so again, it's a good platform, but one of the things that reason why we do this social media made simple is there's a lot of companies out there that will say you need to be on every social media platform. We disagree. We don't. There's some that are really good for you, and some that may never be worth the time of day and investment. And Twitter, in my opinion, is one of those that a lot of times people get involved in it because somebody told them they should, but it really has almost zero value. The advertising options within Twitter's environment, very, very limited click-throughs, very limited return on your investment. So it's a good platform if you're famous. If you're not, I would say don't spend a lot of time there. You can still use it, but there's other platforms that will do it, right? So a side note on that, if you do decide to engage there, what's different about Twitter from traditional marketing is it is a way, we call it top of mind. So if you're continually adding value and you do have an audience of some sort, the ability to tweet or create content is what we call top of mind brand recognition. So it's kind of just a fancy marketing word for saying, if I put some information out there and 500 people see it, those 500 people now see me top of mind. So they go, oh, shoes optional. And so somehow in their subconscious, in part of their brain, shoes optional is now in their thought process, where maybe other platforms they weren't connected with me on, but maybe on Twitter they were on some level. So again, so there can be some benefit to it, but again, it's one of those things where when you do it, it sort of bumps up top of mind. It may not lead to a direct conversion. In other words, it's not somebody clicking on something to buy something, but it's a top of mind recognition, what we call brand recognition strategy. So that is a reason why sometimes it might be beneficial for some companies. Here's a good example. Michelin, and this is a kind of a legendary story, probably 5 to 6 years ago. Michelin was notified, and they were monitoring social media channels. They were notified and saw that there was a lady in Southern California or somewhere in California that was extremely upset because the dealer that she went to didn't have the tire in stock, the Michelin tire in stock. And so what had happened is Michelin saw this as a huge opportunity to become a kind of this, create a great win-win scenario. So they actually overnighted or found those tires from a couple other places, got them to that tire distributor, and was able to get that lady's tires done within less than a day. And she became a brand advocate. She was like, man, Michelin is the greatest company. Look what they did to help make me, make my life better. So again, Twitter can be a platform where you're also monitoring things about your brand, about your company. Maybe you're following a company that you like, or you're following somebody that you want to get connected to. Twitter can be used in all of those facets, right? So there is some value to it, but again, make sure it's something that works for what you're looking for. Let's talk about LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a great platform for professionals, but it's also a good one for businesses, right? By the way, LinkedIn is now owned by Microsoft. Many people, including myself, I do like Microsoft. I've worked with a lot of the products over the years, but when they took over LinkedIn, there's certain parts of LinkedIn that kind of were impacted negatively for some people. So anyway, Microsoft owns LinkedIn at this point. Its primarily purpose is professional, and it's considered more of really a virtual resume world of what your accomplishments are, what you've done. Especially if you're looking to grow your career, LinkedIn is a great place to get references, digital testimonials, showcase all of your skills if you have certifications and all that stuff. Great, solid platform for that. And it is often used by prospective employers looking at prospective employees and doing background research and determining whether that's somebody that would fit within their organization, their culture, the job responsibilities that they're looking to hire for. So again, that's kind of what LinkedIn is going to be. As a company, actually, LinkedIn is a good place to post information. It's a good place to post blogs and technical content about your business. There's lots of groups you can join where you can connect with others that relate to maybe your certifications, your professional affiliations. And it can also be a way to, again, increase that top of mind. So if I post something out there and again, somebody goes, oh, shoes optional, just posted this information. It may not have a call to action or conversion, but it is a place where people can see something from my company. And again, it might bump that up top of mind. Okay. All right. So let's talk about these other platforms, just kind of high level blogging. A lot of you on this conference here have actually WordPress websites. WordPress was designed originally as a blogging platform. It turned into a blogging and website platform, which is great. 75 million plus users or website owners have their stuff in WordPress. We just completed a WordPress Essentials webinar literally last week. So if you're interested in that information, by the way, email me and I can show you. We actually have some videos and some information that might be of interest to you. We can send you some links and show you how to get engaged with that information if you're interested in it. But WordPress is a great blogging platform, plays really well with search engines. There's some other platforms out there. There used to be Blogspot and bunch of others. It's all now owned by Google, and it's called Blogger. So you can actually set up a platform there and just blog away and have a good time, right? So those are platforms that would be considered social media. Some of the tools that relate to that, if you're doing some significant blogging, is integrating the written side of blogging with other tools. So these tools like podcasts are a great way to grow an audience around a concept. So I have a guy that's a client of mine. He actually is located in the British Virgin Islands. He created a podcast called Focus the Fire. You can find it out there on the web, focusthefire.com. And he has a podcast. He's done over 100 plus episodes over the last 2 years. And it's really a great way to do marketing and just share thoughts and ideas, and people can listen to it, and you can put information in there for people to engage and all that type of thing, right? So the holy grail of any of this is that viral marketing. But sometimes if you create a blog or a post, a video, you create an image, a graphic, all of those types of things kind of fall under those tools that can get you additional exposure. All it takes is one of those things where somebody picks it up and they're like, whoa, this is really a cool idea. And if it goes viral, you now have an audience that quite honestly, you may not have prepared for, but it can be a really good way to grow those platforms, right? Let me tell you a little bit about the next social media platform. Again, most people don't think about email this way, but all of us live in our inbox. And quite honestly, your email really should be a very, very solid extension of your business and your personality and who you are. So sometimes people, especially in more corporate cultures, like corporate environments like a Michelin or some of these big companies, they have very strict policies on what you can and can't do with email. They even have these signatures at the end of all their emails that says this is for private use, and all these legal things in it. But email is still one of the best ways to communicate with current clients, current prospects, future prospects, and reaching out. So the reality is email is a huge social interaction tool because we spend a lot of time in there. And there's all kinds of versions of it. There's a free version where you can go out and get Gmail and Hotmail and Yahoo Mail and all that. And those are all good platforms and they're all viable. But if you're really building your own company, building your own brand, our recommendation is for you to really build out a professional email strategy that includes your logo in your email. It includes social media links, contact information, all at the footer of every email. Your email really should reflect your business name. So that's why we have Jeff at shoesoptional.com. That's my business name and my brand. Rather than shoesoptional@gmail.com. I don't want to promote Gmail. I want to promote Shoes Optional. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of recommend looking at your signatures and determining how you're using the email and what the purpose ultimately is. It really needs to be an extension of your business, or even in your personal life. You want it to reflect who you are to some degree. All right, so let's talk a little bit about strategy. Those were some of the high level of the platforms. The one we didn't put in here because it's a little bit more of kind of an eclectic one is that Pinterest level. Pinterest is pretty good, but it's a little more visual, and there's some things you can do to pin things around. If you want information about Pinterest, let me know. We'll be glad to put together some additional information on it. In my current circles of people that I work with, Pinterest is not used very well unless they have a product or service that really can be highlighted via these visual boards that are out there. So shifting gears, social media strategy. Let's talk about real quick. We're about 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes into this. We've got to leave some room for questions here in a few minutes. But let's talk about it from a strategy from any of these perspectives. So if you're a parent, a business owner, an employee, a church member, an athlete, or whatever, if you're a real estate agent, what do you need to do from a social media standpoint, and how should you be using social media, right? So let's talk a little bit about these strategies. And again, social media, if social media, and this is my opinion, is an extension of who you are, one of the things we see, it baffles me, and I'm sure there's a lot of psychological elements to this, but social media is a peek into what we call your alter ego. So for some people, they would never say anything mean, negative, derogatory to your face. But man, you put them on Facebook and you see some of the things they write, and you're like, I don't even know who that person is, right? So your alter ego comes out because you feel like you're somewhat protected behind this veil of technology that's not really protective. And so one of the things that social media is literally an extension of who you are. So that alter ego can be actually kind of cool because maybe face to face you're a little bit more kind of reserved, but maybe on social media you're maybe more playful, you tell jokes, you're kind of funny. That's a good thing to do, right? That's a good way to do it. Unfortunately, there's a huge undercurrent of negative social media and negative alter egos that I see out there on a daily basis, especially around any election, any political topic. You throw out gun control and that topic, you throw out any of those types of things, you're immediately it's gonna escalate, and people are gonna be cussing and yelling and doing all kinds of stuff in no time at all, right? So if you ever want to create a firestorm of negativity, throw something fun out there and see what happens. Unfortunately, you'll quickly be able to figure out on your list who you want to unfriend and no longer be connected to because of that. But anyway, so as social media is an extension of you, you want to use it as an extension. So one of the things we say here is, what is your message? Who are you, and why are you communicating the things you communicate? So whether, again, you're a business owner, whether you're an author, maybe you're somebody who likes to speak or preach, and you're trying to get an audience. Social media is a great way for people to engage with you around how you communicate and the ways that you communicate. And social media is a great platform for that, right? One of the things we used to ask early in social media is, like, people would take pictures. Hey, I'm eating this burrito right now. The question is, do people really care? Not as much anymore, but back then it was like, oh my gosh, they're eating that. I love that burrito. I haven't had a burrito from that place in 10 years. I need to go get, so social media actually became a way for people to re-engage around things that they had fond memories of. For example, I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina. One of the places I grew up in was San Diego. They had some of the best Mexican food out there, and they also had In-N-Out hamburgers, which we don't have out here. So when anybody posts something about In-N-Out hamburgers, I'm like, oh, I could go for their fries and a shake and all that stuff, right? So that again, social media is a playful extension of who you are, but you don't need to share everything, right? And the reason why we say that is because some people think that, again, unless you're a Kardashian where everybody wants to know everything about what's going on in your life, most people don't care. But people do like to see what's happening, and so post things that are engaging, right? A side note to that, we as a Christian, one of the things that I realize is that I'm representing a little bit of my faith when I'm out there on social media. So if I'm out there looking like I'm drunk and I'm making bad decisions and I'm doing things on social media that doesn't really show integrity, then that's not a good thing, right? So that's just kind of keep that in mind as you think about how you use social media in any of those contexts. Okay. Again, social media is not only for business owners, individuals. You can take advantage of that in your everyday lives, and there's a lot of ways that it has enriched people's lives. Think about people that sometimes maybe are shut-ins, people that can't get out and actually physically be around people. Social media has become a way for the world to connect, actually in some really powerful ways, where somebody who maybe didn't have a lot of friends can connect, and now they feel like they're part of a community. They feel like they have some people that will listen to them. So social media does have a really good social impact in some cases, in good ways. Unfortunately, what our news tends to focus on is all the negative things that social media can be. And so part of what we bring into this presentation is saying, hey, social media in everyday life can actually be a beneficial thing for those who are part of those different platforms. All right, so last two things on kind of the strategy about your life. We say guard your heart, because that is something social media has also done. And what we mean by guard your heart is, if all of a sudden you're happily married and you get a invite on Facebook from your old high school girlfriend, that's probably not a good invitation to accept, right? Honestly, if we're being honest here, because there's lines that could easily get blurred and crossed, and there could be memories that you're like, oh man, life was so much better back then. Well, yeah, because you were in high school, you didn't have a job, you didn't have bills to pay, you didn't have anything else. All you had to do was eat and drink and get up and live. So your mind goes back to that stuff, and you may not even realize that you really actually didn't even like that person. But now that you're reconnected to them, people have emotional affairs that lead to physical affairs. Just be careful of how you use social media, because it can be, again, a negative thing on that side of it, right? All right. Last thing about social media too, let's talk about common sense and privacy. So if I was to ask a show of hands, how many people think their stuff's private? A lot of you might think that because you think, hey, well, I clicked on the privacy setting on Facebook. The reality is, if any of us are even on this webinar, the reality is privacy is a fallacy in our society. There is no such thing as privacy anymore, especially when you look at what's happened in just a lot of things. But if you're on social media for any reason, for any length of time, chances are just kiss any privacy goodbye, which means use common sense. And here's a really good example. If I was going out of town this weekend and I go out on Facebook and other platforms, hey, everybody, I'm heading up to, I'm going to be gone for 3 days and I'm going to this big conference. That's kind of cool if all of the people I'm connected to are people of integrity and good people. But if somebody in all of my connections are not good people, and maybe they're looking for opportunities to break into my house and steal something, if I'm gone for 3 days, they're like, this is going to be great. So use common sense. Usually things that would indicate that you are alone or by yourself, especially if you're a woman, you want to really be cognizant of things that you let be shared out there, because people are watching. And even if it's not somebody you're directly connected to, if somebody is connected to them and they somehow see it, you could open yourself up for some issues. So if you're ever going on a vacation or you're taking off some time, don't post it on social media until you get back, right? It's okay to, when you get back, hey man, I just had this great vacation. Check out all these pictures, and that's awesome. It keeps, but if you did that ahead of time, there's a high likelihood that could go bad for you. All right, so we're going to end with a couple of what I call bullet points that are really geared towards strategies for the business owner, and we'll go through these as quickly as we can. I'm looking at the time here. So one of the strategies is starting with why. We actually recommend a book called Start with Why by Simon Sinek, and it's really that concept of understanding, why do you do what you do? Because if you have that very clear, then as a business owner, as a professional, even as a personal, then the things you do online are going to come out of that process of why you do what you do. And that's where people really connect with you, not so much on a cognitive level, but on an actual, they just feel like you should work together, be clients and customers and all that stuff, right? So strategies that are successful for businesses is offer complementary content that benefits the customer. What we mean by that is, as you try to engage and grow your list of customers and try to grow your business, it's really a good idea to just share good information and not charge anybody for it. Now, you don't want to give away everything, all the company's secrets, but you want to share enough information where people go, gosh, that was really good. I'm glad I downloaded that. I'm glad I was able to be part of that process. So look at that and make sure that there's enough stuff there that you can share with people and allow them to benefit from it. The other thing is offer amazing incentives in the form of coupons and discounts. So sometimes when you're offering a product or service, don't be afraid to say, hey, for the first 10 people, use this coupon code and you get 5% off. You'll be surprised how quickly people will respond to that. Or, hey, there's a discount. If you sign up today, instead of paying the $59, you actually only have to pay $49. And that's a great strategy. You'll see people using that. And this is a strategy that we recommend. Social media is a great way to distribute those types of offers and those types of incentives where people see that and they're like, yeah, I think I will take advantage of that coupon. Again, we talk about consistent messaging across all of your social media platforms. That's strategic. So if people see you on Facebook and then they turn around and they see you over on LinkedIn, they should be able to recognize that they're talking to the same person by the way the logo is, the brand, the identity, messages, blogs, even the interaction, right? So that's kind of a good thing to keep in mind, that you want to be consistent across everything that you do in the social media world. And then the last kind of strategy that we recommend for business owners is do upsells and cross sells. So as you're offering something, don't be afraid to offer an additional thing. So if they're buying a webinar or a book, say, hey, you know what, you're getting ready to check out, you're buying the book, but you know what, if you add another $10 to your shopping cart, you can get a free book cover or a free coffee cup, or not free, but you give them an incentive value by doing an upsell or a cross sell of what it is you're offering, right? Those are the strategies that we recommend when it comes to using social media and using that concept of getting people engaged. Okay. And then just went backwards. There we go. The last thing here is, let me tell you about 5 surefire ways to grow your audience. And this is not only social media audience, if you have a social media platform, but this works in all business aspects, whether you're trying to grow your real estate business audience, if you're an author or speaker and you're trying to get more engaged with people. Here's 5 things that we have found that are surefire ways to do this. And sometimes people don't really want to get into this because it does take some work, right? So one of them is know your audience, know what platform they're on. If all of your prospective clients are on Facebook, you probably should be on Facebook, right? If they're on LinkedIn and you're only on Facebook, it's on you to learn that platform and make sure you know where your clients are and how to reach them within those social media platforms that they use, not that you use. That's a big misunderstanding in business, is often we think that they should be doing what we do, right? Last couple of things, passion after the purchase. What that means is your follow through is important. So if somebody buys something from you, don't hesitate to send them something special, either a nice special email note. One of the lost arts is handwritten notes to people saying, hey, thank you for being a customer. You'll be surprised at how some of that after the purchase follow through can really have a huge impact on your repeat and return business model. The other thing, create a referral network by offering incentives and referral fees. Great way to do that. Tell somebody, hey, anytime you refer a website client to me, we'll give you 10% off of whatever, we'll if they spend $1,400, you'll get 140 of that because you referred them to you. It's a great way to grow your business without ever having to spend money unless somebody buys something through you. And again, understanding each of the social media platforms and what's unique about them, and taking advantage of some of the features that a lot of people never want to learn. Again, Facebook, some people know how to post and respond, but there's so many other things you can do that can actually impact your customers. And again, we've said this multiple times, consistency. You've got to be consistent across platforms, things you do, blogs, all of that's there for everybody to stay connected and kind of use that as a way to grow your business. Okay. We're going to go ahead and open it up for some question and answer. I'm going to go ahead and unmute, but let me know if you have any specific questions. Everybody is at this point unmuted, so let me know what thoughts you have, or if is there any specific questions that we can answer as we wrap up today.
Hey, ma'am. Oh, ask her if she got. She's gone. I did.
All right. Is that a question, or is that somebody talking in the background?
Somebody talking.
Okay. I think I'm not seeing if there's any specific questions yet. Again, right now, most people are unmuted. If you have a question, throw it out there. If not, we'll wrap up for the day. And like it says here, keep an eye on your inbox. We'll have some things to share with you coming up of other webinars and things that we're doing. And hopefully we'll be able to get some more things happening for you as well. So let me know if you have any questions, but if not, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. And thank you so much for your time. And hopefully this was helpful and useful. And we'll go from there. Actually, just as I was about to hang up, sorry, somebody asked a question, what is the first step you would recommend to someone who's a speaker or an author? That's a great question. One of my first steps would be to continue to, one of the things that authors have benefited exclusively from that others don't benefit as much, businesses will, but authors really do benefit from the blogging model. So if you're consistent in blogging, adding good content, people are reading that, they're following you, you're getting an audience, then you release a book or you release a podcast, a lot of times that will catapult it. The other thing we've discovered is the more you blog, the more content you have available for writing books quickly. And so if you blog consistently, you'll actually find that you can go back over a period of 6 months and you can almost look at a book sitting right there in your blogs and just basically repurpose that content, maybe scrub it a little bit, put it in a different format. And now you have a quick way to deliver something that's a purchasable item like a book and distribute it electronically, however you want. But that's a great question. And from a social media standpoint, again, typically, the platforms like Facebook and Instagram. I actually bought a book recently from Instagram, seeing a number of people recommending that, hey, I'm reading this book right now. And it was really cool. The book was called When God Becomes Real. And it was just an interesting thing about a guy who went through nervous breakdowns and all kinds of fears and stuff like that, but then how God became real to him and that changed his whole life and what that means. So yeah, as an author, he promoted it, but what happened is other people promoted it for him, people that knew him, people that were engaged with him, and they used Instagram, for example, as a way to promote his book, and it was pretty successful venture from what I understand. So, all right, well, thank you for the questions. If there's anything else, let me know, but we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you for taking your time, and we'll catch up with you on some other things going on. Thank you.